Hey, it's the Midnight Round, and today we are looking at real life events that were also immortalized in film. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I am the Midnight Raven. Unfortunately, I cannot turn the pictures to a landscape on this one. It's just how the page is set up. This was taken from Horror Junkie. This is a Facebook group that I am a part of, and these are horror movies based on real life events with photos from both the movies and from both real life. Now, if you're not new to my channel, you will know I love true crime, the macabre, horror movies, and all that good stuff. And today we're going to look at these real life stories and the photos from the movies. So the first one we have here is Bathsheba, and this is the story of The Conjuring. Now, The Conjuring story is that a house was being either possessed or haunted, and if you have seen the Conjuring movies, they are quite terrifying. Moving on, we have The Cannibals of Kurim, and this is the story of the orphan. Now, if you haven't seen the orphan film, I won't spoil the spoiler. There's also a new orphan film explaining how she became the person she is, if you want to call it that, and the whole backstory to the film Orphan. Obviously, The Cannibals of Kurim was another tragic situation featuring, people who necessarily didn't deserve what they got. Moving on down, we have Robert the Possessed Doll, the real story that inspired Chucky. Now, this Robert the Doll is apparently cursed, haunted, possessed, and he is actually locked in a box, I believe, in like a glass box. And people have sensed eeriness. They believe his eyes follow them. Lots of creepy stuff surrounding this doll. I do implore you to research the doll if you like that kind of creepy doll possessed vibe. Okay, moving on to a tragic story, and this is Pogo the Killer Clown, the true story of Pennywise. So I haven't heard much about Pogo the Killer Clown. I do know he killed people, and it was a very sad situation for many, and that Pogo the Clown was basically John Wayne Gacy, who turned out to be an American serial killer and apparently took the lives of at least 33 boys and men in various types of murder or death. If you want to research that, I have actually done a video on John Wayne Gacy. Okay, the next story is the true story of Annabelle. Now, I don't know much about the true story of Annabelle, but I do know that this freaky doll here on the right is possessed. It's possessed, it's cursed, it's freaky. I'm not a personal fan of freaky dolls. If you are, comment down below. Do you own freaky dolls? Do you own possessed dolls? Are they the kind of like things that you collect? There are people out there that just go around collecting possessed dolls, rather you than me. Okay, another true story was the true story of The Exorcist. This was actually a girl who they presumed to be possessed by the devil, nonetheless. And The Exorcist movie, if you haven't seen it, the vomiting scene is the stuff that will haunt you, because it was just so on point but graphic, and back then it actually made people sick. People passed out in the cinema, people left the cinema. It will probably always go down as that horror movie that people need to see at least once. Moving on down, we have The Cannibals of Scotland, the true story of The Hills Have Eyes. Now, unfortunately, I haven't seen The Hills Have Eyes movie, but there are cannibals throughout the world, and Scotland apparently has their own as well. I don't know much about this story, and I'm hopefully going to have to research some, because I don't have a morbid fascination with cannibals, but it is a very weird genre of horror, cannibalization of people. Okay, the next one, moving on down here, is Asian Death Syndrome, the story behind Freddy Krueger. Now, once again, I have only seen Freddy Krueger. I don't know anything about the Asian Death Syndrome, but I'm going to gather it's probably not good. So, Freddy Krueger is a manifestation, if you want to call him, that haunts your dreams. The Asian Death Syndrome was a unexplained nocturnal death syndrome in a condition that characterized heart attacks and happened usually at night while people were sleeping. Freddy Krueger himself is a entity that haunts your nightmares and your dreams, and was along the same lines. Okay, the Butcher of Plainfield. Now, this is the story behind the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and this is a very macabre story. This is the story of Ed Gein, who liked to use people's skin to make furniture, handbags, even death masks of his own. He killed a ton of people, and the number has never come to a total. He's suspected to have killed at least 2 confirmed people. He's suspected of 7 others, and he's suspected of many, many more that you may have never even heard of or have not been found. He used to take the skin from people. He used to wear it. And the same story runs through the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where these hillbillies, if you want to call them, chop people up, use their bones, use their skin. It's very morbid. As you can see, this is the kind of stuff he used. Moving on down, we have the house in the Amityville Horror. So the Amityville Horror was a house that was apparently possessed. Many people still believe that this house isn't even haunted. I mean, it is a house that has a very dark history. This is a modern folk-based story on the killing of 6 members of a family at 112 Ocean Drive, Amityville. The place is then supposedly haunted. Things fly around. There's weird little orbs seen. And it can become very deadly just spending the night in this house. The next one is the true story of the Winchester House. Now, I unfortunately haven't seen much about the Winchester House. I don't know huge much about it, but the Winchester House is a mystery house in San Jose, California, that was once a personal residence of Sarah Winchester. Now, Sarah Winchester, supposedly, I believe she died at that place, and that it is since seemed to be haunted, another haunting. Who knew? But apparently it is incredibly haunted. And the backstory to this, I don't know much about, unfortunately. Now, the Poltergeist story that happened after the movie, Poltergeist, I didn't really get on with it as a horror movie, I must admit. It didn't really, I'm not really into the whole paranormal kind of horror, if I'm, truly honest. But, the whole paranormal thing, isn't really my type of genre. But the Poltergeist, it was a franchise, and it was a demon known as the Beast that was going around, and it was attracted to a young girl called Carol Ann, who he tried to take with her, and there was this big story to it. Unfortunately, I have only seen Poltergeist once. I haven't seen all 3 movies, probably need to. Next is the Annalise Possession, the true story of the Emily Rose exorcism. Once again, I'm not really into the whole paranormal, existential being taking over a person's body, but the whole story of the possession of Emily Rose is an interesting one. And if you haven't seen the movie, and you're not easily, I guess you want to call it, disturbed. I don't know. Sometimes I find exorcisms really hard to watch. So it just is. It's never comfortable to find someone riding around in agony or distress. But this is loosely based on the Annalise Michel case, where a priest was trying to perform an exorcism, and he was accused of the state of a neglect homicide after he performed the exorcism. Basically, the exorcism killed her. I don't know much else apart from that. It is a film to watch, and I believe they do show it on Netflix sometimes. The next one that interests me is The Spirit of the Well. Now, this is obviously the real story, which is The Ring. This was the story of a girl, unfortunately, that was, I believe she was thrown down a well. I've only ever seen The Ring once. And that she was left to die in the well. I don't know much about it, but it is a true story. Features Okiyu, the spirit of the well. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. But I've never really seen The Ring apart from once, and it really, again, it's like possessed horror. Really wasn't my thing. The next one is The Enfield Poltergeist, the true story of The Conjuring 2. Again, I've only ever seen one of The Conjurings. Again, it's the whole poltergeisty, taking over, possessed demon. It's been done quite a lot. And they do keep churning out these possessed demon films where The Conjuring and stuff like that. And then you get Annabelle and all that. So it's possessed dolls, possessed people. It does get a bit repetitive. I wish the genres would try and find a new source. But then again, vampires have been done numerous times, werewolves, The Walking Dead. I mean, where do you go from here when it comes to horror? Next one is, we move down, it's a true story of Jennifer's Body. Now, Jennifer's Body is an interesting one. I did want to watch the movie, but the movie itself, I don't know, it just didn't really catch me. Jennifer basically becomes possessed and turns her into a succubus after she is sacrificed to Satan, obviously. When her best friend Anita learns about it, she has to stop Jennifer before she attacks her lover Chip. That is the actual movie. What the real Jennifer's Body tale is, I don't know. But I'm going to guess it's along the same line of a person that was possessed, I'm going to guess, again, like sacrificed, taken over. But I've never seen the link to Jennifer's Body other than the film. I've never heard of anything aside from that. Another disturbing tale is the true story of the demon from The Nun. Oh, so if The Nun doesn't give you nightmares, nothing will. So the Crooked Man was a mysterious creature from the land of fiction. He attacked Rance and killed him by stuffing paper down his throat. Valkai is a powerful demon that manifests as a demonic nun to both mock the faith of its enemies and to hide among them. I don't know what the true story of the demon nun is, but it is probably a folklore or a folktale that is told. I don't know much behind the original. Basically, she's an unholy creature and her weakness is holy weapons. So her own weakness is basically religion itself, even though she's a nun. Worked that one out. I really do need to research. I've lost my page. Research other cases at some point. If we move on down to where we were, I've unfortunately lost my place. So carrying on down, you've got the true story of the tragic in Jonestown, the true story of the Veil. Now, I have actually seen documentaries, numerous documentaries on Jonestown. I've also watched the film The Veil, and they are very closely similar but different. Now, the Jonestown was a horrific cult that took the lives of hundreds of innocent, I want to call them innocent people. Whether they knew what they were doing or not at the time, or whether they chose to, has always been up for debate. A lot of people were forced to take what they called this jungle juice, which took their lives, all to reach some higher plane of existence, by their leader, Jim Jones, who was obviously completely crazy. Highly recommend you watching any of the Jonestown documentaries. So you've got more possession here, the nun story again. The real story of the Blair Witch. Haven't ever watched the Blair Witch. People are going to say, come on, you like horror, you should watch the Blair Witch. I probably should do. I'm not one for found footage films, if I'm honest. My type of horror is very defined. I like what I like. But Blair Witch is apparently a good one to watch. So you got the true story of Veronica. This is another possession again. Another possession, I'm going to guess, by another demon. Demons are apparently just attracted to the human body because it bridges the gap between their world and ours. Let's see if there's one I know. The Stanley Hotel, the true story of The Shining. So, I've seen The Shining once, and I was very freaked out by Jack Nicholson's portrayal of it. But Stanley Kubrick, who directed the film, did an amazing job. Now, I don't know what the connection is to a true story. I'm going to guess it's along the same lines. I've never read The Shining by Stephen King, unfortunately. But it did really well at the box office, and it is a film that you were always told you need to watch. It does look like a lovely hotel as well. The real one, mind you. So the true story of Slender Man. Now, Slender Man is an interesting case. This is where a young girl... There's quite a lot of Slender Man cases where people have actually sacrificed people to Slender Man. There were these two girls, they were friends, they had a third friend, and they decided to sacrifice her to Slender Man. Unfortunately, these girls, ill-informed, Slender Man does not exist. He is a figment of our imaginations that is created, if you want to call it, by these two girls, but they put their heart and soul into believing he was real, and that if they sacrificed their friend, Slender Man would come to them. It's a horrific story of these two girls killing their friend to get closer to Slender Man. They were very, very young. I think they were like 10 years old. Can you imagine killing someone so young? Next, you have the story behind Jeepers Creepers. Now, I don't know anything really behind Jeepers Creepers, but I do like Jeepers Creepers. So Jeepers Creepers is basically a demonic creature known as the Creeper, but I don't know what the original story is. Creeper, was a demonic being who needed to take different parts each year to keep alive. But the origins, basically, I'm not exactly sure what the origins connects to, but I think it's a really good movie, and there is a second one, and there is even a third one coming out. Hopefully, God willing, it's coming out soon. Because it is a really interesting movie. I don't know what the connection is to a real life story. If anyone knows, has a documentary or anything, they'd like to put it down below. That would be really interesting to know. So then you got the true story of the haunting of Connecticut. In Connecticut, again, it's about demon possession, haunting type thing. Again, it's just samey for me, these whole demon possessing situations. You got the true story of Kilometer 31. No, I don't know anything about this one, unfortunately. But it did seem interesting. So this is a Mexican supernatural horror film. It's a terrifying legend following a car accident on a wood. And it's to do with a twin sister who lands in a coma and the mysterious death. And her sister tries to solve her mysterious death. She died at Kilometer 31 and discovers a terrifying local legend. So in real life, I'm going to gather that the same thing kind of happened along the same lines. I don't drive personally, so I'm lucky in that respect. You got the murder of Sharon Tate. This follows on from the story that happened after the movie of Rosemary's Baby. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know much about Rosemary's Baby, the film. I have watched numerous films about Sharon Tate and the whole Charles Manson situation back then and how he set out to kill them, to start a race war. But I've only seen Rosemary's Baby once, and I wasn't very impressed with the film. But back then, that was the type of film that would grip attention. And that is all of them. So let me know down below your favourite real-life true crime that also appeared in a film or a documentary. 'Tis the season to be given if you'd like to donate to the channel. I'm sorry I didn't know a lot about these films. I know more about some of the true crime elements than I do about the movies, or I know more about the movies than the true crime. It is hard to know everything. There is so much true crime and real life happening day to day that it's hard to keep up with true crime now than true crime that's already happened many years ago. But if you have a film that I should check out that is based on real life crimes, whether it's, Orphan or Ed Gein or Charles Manson or something like that, let me know down below. 'Tis the season to be giving as well. If you want to help the channel, a PayPal, Super Chat, Super Thanks, or become a member. And I will see you very soon for another video. Take care and thanks for watching. Bye guys.